Hello there, and welcome to episode number 10 of the Billboard ranking series that I have here on my channel. It's kind of exciting to already be through 10 years of just talking about old classic songs that, for the most part, I grew up with. And it's been really fun to look back at these songs. This is the 10th year that I'm doing it, 2009. And I gotta say, when looking back at these years, the more I realize around this era, like 2007 and going forward a few years, I started to realize this is kind of where I tune out of a lot of the pop music, I suppose. I don't have as strong memories from these years as I do with mainly years prior to them, but also probably years after it. I was very much within my own kind of zone of mainly alt rock during these years, I think. However, of course, a lot of them ring a bell somewhere back here. And maybe though, like my main thing is that I probably tuned out a little bit from the pop scene because there is a recurring thing that keeps happening when you listen to a lot of the hit songs from this era of music. And that is the damn vocal processing that for some reason was the greatest thing you could do in the world of music, I suppose, during a time here, which is very obnoxious in my book. Maybe some people are really, really fond of it, but I think it holds back a lot of the quality on music that I talk about in these videos. So I will complain a little bit about that on some of the songs that I have in front of me today. Not all of them, but some of them. I just give you a heads up in that. The 20 top songs from the year 2009 are on screen right now. We'll see how well this year ends up compared to the other ones I've talked about so far. I'm not having the highest hopes, and now I also see that they're kind of in an incorrect order here. So let me just come on. Let me just swap them around really quickly there. I think it should be right now. I think this is the correct order. I just realized, like, hang on, that wasn't right, according to my notes anyway. Anyway, the top 20 songs, I'm starting from 20th and working my way up to first. And in 20th place on the Billboard year-end charts of 2009 was the song Down by Jay Sean and Lil Wayne. And this was a really nice one to return to, actually. Like, I so remember this song when I heard it. I have no idea how much I listened to it back in the day, probably not at all, but it was just somewhere stuck at the very back of my head. I was like, oh yeah, this song existed, and it's damn catchy, like really, really catchy. It kind of gave me this really nostalgic vibe, even though I probably never really listened to it when I was younger. Maybe it was just on in the background on the radio or whatnot, but actually quite a welcoming listening experience in 2024 still, even though it's aged, absolutely. But it's just this kind of perfect example of what music sounded like in 2009, I suppose, in a charming way, because this one is melodically focused, which I'm very fond of. It's a really neat intonation that the song consists of. Rhythmically, it's engaging. I think the vocals work, even though that they are incredibly processed and heavily so. But in this case, it kind of feels like this balance that the song has from a rather subtle yet very upbeat beat, and this vocal processing on the chorus kind of just works. There's a nice balance in there that I can't really explain, but I just think that it clicks somehow. But I think the main thing really is that it's just an earworm of a hook that instantly, I mean, it's just sweet that it clicks in here and it just sticks in there. There is, of course, a little factor that I do think detracts the enjoyment of this track quite a lot, and that goes by the name of Lil Wayne, who sounds just as ridiculous as always, really, that I've come across of him. And he turns this really engaging pop tune into a laughable listen, really, for the 30 seconds that he's on here. Then he kind of disappears into the background again and just shouts random nonsense every now and again. But the hook is there during those parts, so it's not really that noticeable. However, he definitely brings the song back. I also think probably like the amount of processing holds back the song a little bit. It hasn't aged the best because of it. But a very charming look back into 2009, I think. And this is a strong B-tier kind of song in my book. Very enjoyable. I'm glad I found this one again because I have definitely not listened to it in an eternity. And it did bring me some enjoyment, absolutely. I had fun listening to this one again. And I've been listening to it quite a few times since rediscovering it. So nice start, really. The nice start, however, kind of ends here because I was not aware that I ever needed to talk about Mr. Soulja Boy again, but yo, he's actually here. Soulja Boy and Sammie with the song Kiss Me Through the Phone is the next one up here. And I can't believe, like, Soulja Boy, I really thought that The song, of course, Crank That Soulja Boy from the, I think that was from the last tier list video. It might have been a few ones ago. I've forgotten. I really thought that that was what Soulja Boy was known for, but apparently he had another hit. So congratulations to him. It's not as bad as I found Soulja Boy Crank That to be. This one has actually some kind of melodic approach to it, which I am fond of. I appreciate that. I'm thankful to that. And it also kind of tries to be a little bit more polished than the previous effort, with actually a hook that's sung by a real singer. Still, this is ultimately quite an uninteresting tune in my book, and I get no enjoyment out of it. I'm not returning to it, but it's a step in the right direction, so let's go for E tier for this one. Still, I don't think there's really a reason behind this being a hit other than, oh, it's the guy who made Crank That Soulja Boy that we made a hit for whatever reason. So E tier, he's not my kind of artist. I don't click with his songs. Sorry. Anyway, next up we got T.I. here, who I of course talked quite negatively about in the last video, and this time he paired up with Rihanna. And also paired up with Ozone, I suppose, because Dragosta Dinte is being sampled in this song for who knows what reason. I have no clue. I mean, I think that the original track has some charm in its kind of quirkiness and just... it's a fun listen for what it is. You don't think too much about it. It's just, oh yeah, that's really catchy and quite fun. Why anyone had the idea to sample it and make a serious song around it, I have no idea. But T.I. got that idea, I suppose, and he brought Rihanna along, who I, of course, do quite enjoy her music, but she's obviously kind of known throughout this era to heavily process her vocals, which I'm not fond of. And in the case of this song, they're as absurd as I've ever heard. It's like there's completely no limit or no regard to, maybe we shouldn't overdo it. She barely sounds like Rihanna in this track. It's so off-putting, a very distracting listen. I think that the beat of this track has aged awfully. It sounds thin, it sounds flavorless, just really uninspired, mainly. And what a lazy, soulless hook this song has. It's truly not an enjoyable listening experience at all for me, and it becomes even more infuriating when you have a core song that you base your song around that actually works because of its charm in its context. Take that out and you just create another song around it, and you make it infinitely worse. And just no, it's a clear-cut F. I can't stress enough how upset songs like this makes me. Luckily for T.I., he has another song that I can talk about a bit later in this video. Rihanna doesn't, so yeah, rough one for Rihanna this year, but she'll be back in some other years, I'm sure, and I'll be more positive towards her again. And next up, speaking of awful, no, sorry, it shouldn't be like that, but Mr. Worldwide, Pitbull. This is probably the first time I talk about Pitbull in these videos, I think. I Know You Want Me. Calle Ocho is the name of the song, and this is arguably the simplest dance tune ever made in the history of anything. It's so repetitive, it's so monotonous, it has absolutely nothing going for it. It's basically very simply put together and just doesn't really scratch the surface on anything. However, does it work? Yeah, absolutely. It is absolutely effective in being the dumbest upbeat thing I've ever heard in my life, probably. It's impressively repetitive, as I said. However, it's just perfect for a club setting because you require approximately one brain cell to comprehend this, whatever this is. It features classic lines such as "Mommy got an ass like a donkey, with a monkey, look like King Kong, welcome to the crib," which is pure lyricism genius from Mr. Worldwide here. And the track as a whole is just incredibly, infectiously fun and creative. And no, it's absolutely not. But it's dumb and it's fun in a club setting, I suppose. And it's absolutely very engaging. I'm tempted to put it in the D tier just because I applaud the effort to to create something so just catchy while being the least impressive thing I've ever heard, probably. I have a lot of mixed views on this song, which I shouldn't really have, because I probably think about this song more than the people who put it together ever did, which is saying something. So I'm placing it in D tier because I understand the fun of it, but I also understand how infuriating it is in a lot of ways, and the fact that it charted so highly. You can make up your own mind about that, but ayo, it is what it is. Next up, Jamie Foxx is on the screen here, and he's brought T-Pain along with him for the song Blame It, which is arguably very, very catchy, absolutely. Rhythmically, this chorus hits very hard. It has this kind of vocal chop that's very effective as well, but also ultimately it's a crazy repetitive listen, this one. It's 5 minutes long, which doesn't really help the feeling of being a progressive and fun song to listen to, because it gets quite tiring, I'll admit. And this beat that it has is very robotic. Its continuous pattern just never really stops. It gets really tiresome for that regard. And T-Pain, I mean, I speak a lot about vocal processing, but T-Pain is like the man when it comes to this. He sounds just... words can't express it really. Like it's not human, absolutely not, and it's barely anything you can describe. The processing here is on an all-time low. It sounds utterly horrendous, but the hook puts it up for an E. So well done, Jamie. Not so well done, T-Pain. Okay, this is a rough list so far. It has to be said. What is this year? Next up though, Keri, Hilson, Kanye West, and Neo with Knock You Down. And I'll get the negatives out of the way first, I think, here. I'm not very fond of the production on this track. It has a list like this really obnoxious hi-hat usage that just pierces through your ears very clearly throughout the track, which is quite annoying. It's also a very, very long track. It's like 5.5 minutes long, which feels really unnecessary. It does get a bit draggy. It feels elongated in an unnecessary way. However, it has a few strengths as well. I think that the vocal layering during those choruses are really neat. It's an effective way to just kind of hammer down the hook. And I think Keri Hilson sounds great throughout the track, really. Her hook is very decent in this track. Neo, I think, provides a nice contrast to her vocal performance, really. And it feels very natural as he comes along in the second verse. And it just flows naturally together there. Kanye West, however, his verse is absolutely woeful, but you win some, you lose some, I suppose. It's a C tier. I'm placing it in the middle here. I think it just fits right in there. It has some enjoyable moments. It's not all the way there. It has a few setbacks as well, but it works for what it is, I suppose. So C feels kind of just in the middle for that track there. However, now we get into some songs that are more up my alley, or well, at least one song that's up more my alley. You know me, I do like this kind of soft pop rock and also alt rock music. Kings of Leon is a band that I really enjoy personally, and you might roll your eyes at that. It's, we all think differently, but I really love their music actually. And Use Somebody here, which is the song I'm talking about, is absolutely a very compelling package. I'm very glad that this kind of pop rock tune became such a huge hit, because I think it's very accessible, I suppose, but it also showcases kind of an emotional depth, I suppose, in a way. I think musically, or mainly arrangement-wise, instrumentally, this song has managed to create quite a clear and pulsating landscape or soundscape that just really kind of clicks for me. I think that the song is a bit overwhelming in a positive way through the ears. It feels very complete, feels polished. I do think that the blend in the instrumentation works very nicely in this track, and the vocal performance is, as with most times when it comes to Kings of Leon, very characteristic and very substantial, I suppose. It's absolutely something that I listen to every word. I get engaged by it. I think the choruses hit really nicely. They're mostly instrumentally focused, but they work very nicely. It's this kind of really satisfactory and pleasant input of like this wall of noise kind of approach they got going for them. That's just very effective, and it feels very complete listening to it. I think this is a strong A tier kind of song. Happily return to it at any point really. I always do get quite a bit of enjoyment out of this one, and it's one that I return to quite regularly. So very nice one, and it's followed up with, I suppose, a song from kind of a similar area of music, You Found Me by the Fray, which is the second time I speak of the Fray. Last time I was quite generous in my praise when it came to them, and You Found Me is actually probably could be my favorite song by the Fray. I think it comes together so beautifully. It's a beautiful progression throughout this track. It develops very nicely. Vocally, it feels quite sincere. I do like the tone, and I do like the resonance of it quite a lot. Instrumentally, just crisp, a lot of clarity in the track. The mixing's done very nicely in this one. Love the guitar work, and I think vocally it's a song that just clicks. The melodies follow each other so naturally and in a very kind of what do you say? I wouldn't say really a hopeless or a hopeful manner, but it has a very emotional core to the actual intonation of this track that I think just really works very nicely. I think the hook could probably be considered a little bit like, the melodic writing here isn't as expressive as perhaps the verses or other songs by the Fray, but they just combine so nicely with this palpable instrumental that I think the song has, that I can't shy away from it. I think this is definitely another A-tier song, and I'm not sure which one I prefer of these two, actually. I'm going for You Found Me because I think it's more emotionally loaded. It hits me a bit harder. Might not have the same kind of replayability as You Somebody for me, but it's absolutely just a beautiful listen in my book. So really enjoy that song by the Fray. I'm sure that that's the last time I'm going to be talking about them in these videos. I spotted that How to Save a Life, which I think is their biggest hit, was on the list for both, if it was 2007 and 2008 or something like that, and it just missed out on the top 20 for both years. So I'm sure that this is the last time, but what a way to go out on if that's the case. I think this song is stunning. I hope you've listened to it. Otherwise, I do really recommend doing it. It's a beautiful listen, I think. A really nice one. Next up, T.I. is back, and this is Dead and Gone with Justin Timberlake. And T.I., in this song, he stuck to what T.I. knows best how to do. Unlike in the last video, where he decided to sing the whole track, which is not really his forte, he left the singing over to Justin Timberlake, which is, a reasonable choice to make. And yeah, the rap verses from T.I. in this track are superb in my opinion, energetically really intense, while also that there's like this kind of somber tone in the backdrop of the beat here. This instrumental has a very deep kind of bass work in it, while also containing a very, like not a piercing piano, but quite a hollow tone in the piano with a really somber mood that I think is quite tangible. The percussion in the track is really punchy, which also elevates this beat to become more engaging, I suppose, mainly. I might be a bit too much processing on the vocal hook from Mr. Timberlake here, which I think is, again, a bit unnecessary. And it also sounds a bit like Justin Timberlake is holding back a little bit while singing this hook, which I don't really think fits this track, because this track is a lot about just kind of an explosive, in-your-face engagement that T.I. definitely stands for throughout the track. That every time the chorus comes in, I feel like it's holding back a little bit. It's restraining itself instead of creating this really explosive and expressive delivery during those parts. The song contains a lot of intensity and drive, and I think they should have developed that further with the hook instead of kind of holding it back a little bit. Still, I think this is a wonderful listen, really, and the rap verses are very, very fun. I think they hit hard, and the beat just definitely hits hard as well. It's an A-tier song. I return to this one quite frequently. I think it's really well put together and nicely presented as well. So kudos to T.I. He's not all that bad. I've been harsh on him, but this is where I find him to excel truly. His rapping here is very convincing, in my opinion. And next up, the first of many, I suppose. Taylor Swift is, of course, a huge, huge, huge artist. And this is the first time I'm talking about her in these videos. This is a song, You Belong With Me, which is not my favorite Taylor Swift song. However, it's not my least favorite either. Far from it. I think this song has a kind of a constant flow of energy to it, which I appreciate. Especially like towards the the final minute and a half of this track, everything comes together so nicely. It feels like a really rewarding finale to the track. And it just has a brilliant soundscape, really. It feels convincing, it feels full, it feels rewarding, satisfactory. Just compelling choruses throughout the track as a whole, I think, but mainly towards the end when it just goes all in with the choruses. The melody of the choruses also I find to be very, very strong. It has a powerful backdrop behind it because of this strong instrumental as well. Perhaps the song absolutely has a few setbacks in my book as well. I think that the verses of this track are really, really tacky, and they feel like almost a bit too juvenile now when I listen to it at my age. I get that this song was supposed to be relatable to 12, 13-year-old girls. I'm not sure. However, listening to it now, it's almost a bit excessive in terms of its, what is it? She wears high heels and I wear sneakers, or whatever it is. It's this, you're just like, okay, whatever. And then the hook comes along and I'm just like, yeah, this works. It's a bit rough around the edges. I still think it's a B-tier song. I do find it quite enjoyable, and the chorus absolutely goes hard, and I can absolutely find myself singing along to it. I'm not ashamed to admit that, not at all. You'll find out my true feelings about Taylor Swift coming up a bit later. I'm sure you can see her on the artworks at the bottom again. All right, that's halfway through the video. I've talked a lot. I just realized this could be the longest video so far. I'm not sure. However, top 10 time, and Gives You Hell by the All-American Rejects. I can't even speak. This song is, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm usually a fan of this kind of pop punk thing that some of the bands did during this time. However, this is it. I think my main issue with this song, no, not the main issue, but one of the issues I have with it, it has an infuriating smugness about it, like in its storytelling. It's very off-putting in my opinion. And I get it, oh, haha, it's supposed to be a bit funny, but no, it's just not clicking with me. The song is kind of also built around having these explosive short bursts of impact, which feels a bit, I don't know, out of place within the whole progression of the track. There's an incohesive flow to all of this, really. And while matching that with a very formulaic structure that doesn't really have any finesse or attention to detail or care being taken into its transitional work, it feels very all over the place. It might be a dynamic listen, but it's ultimately a very clumsy one. I think this is absolutely can't be higher than E, in all honesty. I'm placing it between Jamie and Soulja here. Can't believe I'm very generous to Soulja Boy, am I not? Like, Soulja Boy has to be at the very bottom of E tier here. But yeah, Gives You Hell is not a fun listen for me at all. However, I can understand the hook is there, and it's supposed to have a lot of attitude and personality, which it does have. So all the more power to them for that, I suppose. But overall, not really a listen for me. And moving along, we have more Kanye West, actually. And this time, it's all about Kanye West. There's no one else. Kanye isn't in here to throw on a strange little rap verse or whatnot. This is Kanye and a lot of vocal processing, of course, because it's Kanye. But Heartless, this is a really cool tune. I very much admire some of the work of Kanye West, because I think he could be very creative and just really embracing a different kind of music than what a lot of other people make. This song absolutely just embraces this processing that it consists of entirely, which makes the song kind of work. It doesn't try to be anything else. It goes all out with it, doesn't hold back, and I admire it for that. I think it works because of it. This heavy digitalization that's being used is really the core of the track and what makes it work. So nice one for that. The arrangement really focuses on hard-hitting, distinct sound inputs, which sounds really refreshing, really, when you compare it to a lot of other pop music and hit songs, I suppose. Melodically, it's also a superb hook, in my opinion. Perhaps it doesn't have the most interesting development in its progression, this track. However, everything just feels really fresh about it, and it's a fun listen. and I absolutely appreciate what Kanye's done with it. I'm taking this very top of B tier. I don't think it's on par with the tracks I put in A tier, for me at least, in terms of my personal enjoyment. But it's at the very top of B tier, absolutely. I think this is a very, very, very strong track, really. A lot of fun to listen to, and very creatively put together. So top remarks really from me to Kanye West here about Heartless. And what a hook it is! Like that hook just doesn't leave your head, in my opinion. It's very strong and convincing. Next up, I know this song speaks for, or well, what you say. I know this song appeals to a lot of people. It's "Single Ladies, Put a Ring on It" by Beyoncé, which has really become quite the anthem, I suppose, for a lot of people. And I do understand the fun approach that it takes. However, this is one of the songs that I just absolutely cannot stand. My head seriously hurts listening to this song, and I don't want it to be like that, but it's just the way it is. Really, I think that the vocal arrangement of the track is all over the place, for starters, I suppose. This non-stop percussion that the track consists of in its beat is just piercing through the soundstage. The mixing on this is very strange, and maybe you could really like admire its outside the box thinking in terms of both arrangement and production on this track. But in my ears, it just doesn't sound good, and then I can't really I can't overlook that fact. There are also these random sirens that are used as kind of like a rhythmic device in this song, and unfortunately, to my ears, they sound horrendous. The synths that come in the choruses are distractingly overpowering in this muddy presence that they present, and even though that maybe the song is catchy with its whoa kind of hook, and whatnot, and the lyrical content might be fun as well. I just I can't hear it, because all I hear is just a bunch of random noises scattered all over the place, trying to create a most chaotic arrangement imaginable, and it just doesn't sound good to my ears. So maybe I'm the problem, but if I'm the problem, then I'm the problem. This is an F. It's a very clear F. It's actually better than "Live Your Life" because it hasn't sampled a different song, so like not as clearly anyway, from my knowledge. But it's still down there. I get a proper headache listening to it. I can't finish this song. It doesn't work for me. Sorry. Next up, it's actually quite another rough one in my book. "I'm Yours" by Jason Mraz. I'm sure everyone's heard this song a million times. And why not? I mean, this is the musical equivalent of the guy that brings his own guitar to parties and sits down and tries to, get all of the attention for the entire night, even though no one asked him to. That's exactly what I think of when I hear this song. I think it's an absolute chore to sit through, even though the song is a bit cozy and sweet and whatnot. But yeah, it really is the definition of the dude at the party who brings a guitar with him when no one asked him to. And I hate that. I think it's one of the worst things in the world. It's so awkward. Sorry, I'm going kind of on a tangent here, but this song is just gives me the same feelings. It has an overly simplistic arrangement. Like anyone could pick up a guitar and learn this song within 2 weeks, probably. There is a limited amount of thinking outside of the box, and I hate this excessive pausing in rhythm during the choruses, like the "I can't wait no more, no more." Like how what happened with rhythm? What happened with rhythm? This song is just so static and lifeless. No. And I also really hate this do part. He's starting to do in like the after 2 minutes or whatever. Then it's just do. The more I think about it, the more I hate this song. I really do. But it is cozy, it's sweet. So I was thinking about placing it in E tier, but I just really dislike it. But you know what? Benefit of the doubt, you're going in E, Jason Mraz. But I do not like this song at all. I'm so sorry. I feel like I'm getting too harsh in the way I express myself on these songs. I'm sorry about that, but I can't help myself in this case. This one frustrates me. Ugh. And it's not over. It's actually not over, because you see what's up next. It's Flo Rida and Kesha with Right Round. And I told you, like this, they're going with this kind of thing that's called interpolating, which is basically just stealing another song and then making it your own. So here we've taken an old Dead or Alive single from the 80s, which has a very catchy melody. The hook is absolutely strong. And they remade it, and they made it infinitely worse. The vocal processing again on this track is so awful. The synths in this track sound awful. The beat is very, very static. The rap is quite anonymous, in all honesty. And this hook is just drowned in vocal effects and vocal processing. And this interpolation, or whatever you call it, huge pet peeve of mine. This song is just no. It's another F. Yeah, all of it is just. I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand with Live Your Life. Just no. This is such a negative video. I'm so terribly sorry, but I can't help it. Okay, what's up next? Love Story by Taylor Swift. Okay. Anyone have any idea where I'm placing this? F? E? D? Maybe C? Maybe even B? Maybe even A? No, it's S. This is, I'm the biggest softie in the world when it comes to this song, because this is absolutely just perfect in my book. I can understand, like, I'm probably not its intended audience. However, how effective is this song and its actual impact? Like, the delivery of it is just stunning. The song is consisting of this instrumentation that's very, it's very kind of country inspired, with this very singer-songwriter friendly approach. But what really makes this song click is the actual development of the song. The instrumentation throughout the choruses mainly, I think, is just very engaging. It feels complete. It's a compelling soundstage being presented, and the vocal really tells a story in the most clear and I guess not a picturesque, but the storytelling focus of the track is so clear that you can't really ignore the lyrical storytelling of it all. And it's a cheesy topic, absolutely. I understand that. But when it's presented in the way that this song is presented, it just works, because I can't not feel for it. Absolutely. And especially since this melodic writing, the intonation makes it so clear that it's actually kind of like an emotional roller coaster of a journey throughout the song that you're just following along with. And when these explosive choruses really come in with the full instrumentation backing it up, and Taylor Swift goes all out it with the I love you, and that's all I really know. It just goes so hard, and I listen to the song in my car quite a lot of times, and I go in. I feel the passion in this track, and I think it's absolutely superb. I don't need many reasons for it, really. I just think everything comes together perfectly in the track. It's not a song I would ever expect to see myself really click with, but the presentation of it all, and the delivery, and the, I guess, sincerity behind it, really, it's too heartwarming and too emotionally poignant that I just can't resist it. I think it's stunning, and it's one of, I'm going there, it's one of my favorite songs of all time. It really is, and how glad I am that the song exists. I've listened to it so much, and I have no shame in that. Absolutely not. When a very sweet, juvenile, sincere singer-songwriter inspired country pop tune works, it simply works. Okay, 4 songs to go. 2 Black Eyed Peas songs and 2 Lady Gaga songs. Who could have thought? Black Eyed Peas, I Got a Feeling. The less I say it, the better, really. This is straight up an E-tier song. It's repetitive, it's nonsensical, it gets listeners invested into it, absolutely. I get it. The kind of staccato approach it has on this synth, that's kind of the core of the track. It works. The bass work is decent. It has this punch in the groove of the track. Vocally, it is sing-along friendly for sure. But it's also tiresome. It's monotonous. It's it's not really the song's fault, but it's been played so many times that I get a bit annoyed at it. I think I've heard this song way too much without wanting to. And it's just this constant reminder of just a simple dance-friendly tune with a sing-along friendly chorus, making it really big because it is exactly that. I don't really know why I appreciate the Pitbull track more than this. Maybe because it's embracing its simplicity way more than this one is. I don't know. It's still an E tier song for me, but it's top of E tier, I would say. I get the energy and the pulse of the track for sure. Just Dance by Lady Gaga, brilliant tune in my opinion. This is exactly what I want a dance-friendly pop song to sound like. The production, of course, it sounds a bit like 2008, 2009, but it does so in a nostalgic and charming way, I think. The chorus is definitely instantly recognizable. It hits hard. I think the vocal delivery is absolutely clicking in the song. The instrumental is has a lot of flavor to it. I think that the pulse on the track is nice. The beat works very nicely. I say nice a lot, I just realized, but this song is just really, really nice, I suppose. It's always a song that gets my like energetic, gets me energetic about it. I feel like I want to dance when I hear it. It just has that irresistible punch and drive to it, and the chorus is is simply melodically so striking to me that I have tons of fun listening to this song. I have always done that, even back in 2008, 2009, when I was in my alt rock era and I just listened to rock music. You can bet that I listened to rock music and I listened to Just Dance by Lady Gaga. This is it's a very strong A tier kind of song. I don't return to it as frequently anymore that maybe I should, but it's no, I guess it's no real wonder that the production has aged and it shows. It's not really the fault of the track, but it's maybe just the fault of me. But it's still a very strong A. It's definitely top of A. It's gonna get some what do you say? It's gonna get some company. That's the word. As I lose my voice here. Poker Face is also, of course, a Lady Gaga classic. I don't have as strong of an association with this track as I do with Just Dance. This was really like the bigger follow-up in my memory, at least. I remember Just Dance coming out, and then a little time later, Poker Face came out, and Poker Face was really the one that got big in Sweden, from my memory. And then, of course, Bad Romance came, which I'm sure I'm talking about in the next video, probably. But Poker Face was the one that I remember was on the radio all the time, and really, like, it still is. Like, I could put on the radio in Sweden and still hear this song appear at times. That's how big of a hit it really is. The chorus is so punchy. It has an instantly recognizable chorus. Again, the whole sections between, like, the introduction of the track and also the sections leading between the choruses and the verses, they're, you know, very, very memorable, and they just work. The flow of this track is very strong as well. It's a creative package. It stands out because of, I mean, I guess Lady Gaga's real vision of how to put together her songs. Catchy tune, very upbeat, dance-friendly. It's a strong little A in here. I'm placing it between Dead and Gone and Use Somebody, because I definitely get more enjoyment out of Just Dance still to this day. But this is a very strong pop tune, so it's still definitely an A tier song for me. Which leads me into another Black Eyed Peas track, and this one's Boom Boom Pow. And very underwhelming song to be number one, in my opinion, when you got two very strong Lady Gaga tracks right below it. It's a club song, absolutely. The production is very much focused on that. I think that the production is actually quite strong on this track for being so as old as it is, you know. It absolutely has a punch. It has a lot of drive into it. It feels forceful. It feels purposeful. But ultimately, the song is just complete nonsense. It's about absolutely nothing, and all it does in its existence is for it to be a fun dance track, really, that you could have on in the club, I suppose. It works for it. It has a rhythmic kind of distinction to it that works. I never seek this one out to listen to. I don't particularly enjoy it, but I get the vision behind it, and for that, I'm placing it in D tier, and it's absolutely more admirable than the Pitbull track. Maybe I was a bit too lenient on Mr. Worldwide there, but it is what it is. That's the tier list for 2009, and what a strange year. It has a few absolute classics, in my opinion. However, there's so much stuff that I just can't stand, unfortunately. And I feel like I'm very generous to Mr. Mraz here. I kind of feel tempted to put him down in F, but I'll leave it be. I'll leave it be. Most of you will probably think I was way too harsh on Beyonce today, which I understand. But as I said, I just can't stand it, really. Maybe you also thought that I was way too generous on Mrs. Swift, which I get, but leave me alone. This is the tier list of 2009 in my opinion. Please let me know what yours would look like in the comments, or if you have any songs here that really stand out to you and your thoughts about them. That's been 10 episodes, and this is definitely the longest one so far. I can't even speak anymore, barely. But please, join me for the rest of the series. Tomorrow, I'm talking about 2010. Looking forward to that one as well. Hope to see you there. Take care of yourselves, and bye for now.